The Kaaba, also referred as Kaaba Muazzama, is a building at the center of Islam's most sacred mosque, Al-Masjid al-Haram, in Mecca, al-Hejaz, Saudi Arabia. It is the most sacred Muslim site in the world. It is considered the house of Allah and has a similar role to the Tabernacle and Holy of Holies in Judaism. Wherever they are in the world, Muslims are expected to face the Kaaba when performing salat. From any point in the world, the direction facing the Kaaba is called the Qibla. The sanctuary around the Kaaba is called Al-Masjid al-Haram. One of the 5 pillars of Islam requires every Muslim who is able to do so to perform the Hajj pilgrimage at least once in the lifetime. Multiple parts of the Hajj require pilgrims to make tawaf, the circumambulation 7 times around the Kaaba in a counterclockwise direction. Tawaf is also performed by pilgrims during the Umrah. However, the most interesting times are during the Hajj, when millions of pilgrims gather to circle the building on the same day. In 2013, the number of pilgrims coming from outside the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to perform Hajj was officially reported as 1,379,531. In 2014, Saudi Arabia reported having completed Hajj permits for 1,389,053 international pilgrims and 63,375 for residents. Lexicology. The building is called by many names in the Quran and Hadith, such as Bayt, Bayt al-Haram, Baytullah, Bayt al-Atiq, and Awal al-Bayt. The Arabic word Bayt is cognate to the Hebrew Bayt as used in, for example, Bayt HaMikdash and Bayt el, Bethel. The Arabic word Kaaba means square or cube. The Quran also mentions Bayt al-Ma'mur, the house of God in heavens, which the Kaaba symbolizes, where according to Hadith the angels perform tawaf and prayers. Architecture and interior. The Kaaba is a stoned cube structure which is made of granite quarried from nearby Kayara land. The Kaaba is approximately 13.1 meters high, with sides measuring 11.03 meters by 12.86 meters. Inside the Kaaba, the floor is made of marble and limestone. The interior walls, measuring 13 meters by 9 meters, are clad with tiled, white marble halfway to the roof, with darker trimmings along the floor. The floor of the interior stands about 2.2 meters above the ground area where tawaf is performed. The wall directly adjacent to the entrance of the Kaaba has 6 tablets inlaid with inscriptions, and there are several more tablets along the other walls. Along the top corners of the walls runs a green cloth embroidered with gold Quranic verses. Caretakers anoint the marble cladding with the same scented oil used to anoint the black stone outside. 3 pillars stand inside the Kaaba, with a small altar, a table set between one and the other 2. Lamp-like objects hang from the ceiling. The ceiling itself is of a darker color, similar in hue to the lower trimming. A golden door, the Bab at-Tawbah, on the right wall opens to an enclosed staircase that leads to a hatch, which itself opens to the roof. Both the roof and ceiling are made of stainless steel capped teakwood. Each numbered item in the following list corresponds to features noted in the diagram image. Al-Haram al-Aswad, the black stone, is located on the Kaaba's eastern corner. Its northern corner is known as the Rukn al-Iraqi, the Iraqi corner. Its western is the Rukn al-Shami, the Levantine corner, and its southern is Rukn al-Yamani, the Yemeni corner. The 4 corners of the Kaaba roughly point toward the 4 cardinal directions of the compass. Its major axis is aligned with the rising of the star Canopus toward which its southern wall is directed, while its minor axes roughly align with the sunrise of summer solstice and the sunset of winter solstice. The entrance is a door set 2.13 meters above the ground on the northeastern wall of the Kaaba, which acts as the facade. In 1979, the 300 kilograms gold doors made by chief artist Ahmad bin Ibrahim Bada replaced the old silver doors made by his father, Ibrahim Bada, in 1942. There is a wooden staircase on wheels, usually stored in the mosque between the arch-shaped gate of Banu Shaybar and a Zamzam well. Zakaryaamr, rainwater spout made of gold, added in the rebuilding of 1627 after the previous year's rain caused 3 of the 4 walls to collapse. Gutter, added in 1627 to protect the foundation from groundwater. Hatam, a low wall originally part of the Kaaba. It is a semicircular wall opposite, but not connected to, the northwest wall of the Kaaba known as the Hatam. This is 90 centimeters in height and 1.5 meters in width, and is composed of white marble. At one time the space lying between the Hatam and the Kaaba belonged to the Kaaba itself, and for this reason it is not entered during the Tawaf. According to Western scholars, the space contains the remains of Hagar and Ishmael, as it is called Hidjr Ishmael. Al-Multizam, the roughly 2-meter space along the wall between the black stone and the entry door. It is sometimes considered pious or desirable for a Haji to touch this area of the Kaaba, or perform dua here. The Station of Abraham, a glass and metal enclosure with what is said to be an imprint of Abraham's feet. Abraham is said to have stood on this stone during the construction of the upper parts of the Kaaba, raising Ishmael on his shoulders for the uppermost parts. Corner of the Black Stone. Corner of Yemen. Pilgrims traditionally acknowledge a large vertical stone that forms this corner. Corner of Syria. Corner of Iraq. This inside corner, behind a curtain, contains the Bab at-Tawbah, door of repentance, which leads to a staircase to the roof. Kiswa, the embroidered covering. Kiswa is a black silk and gold curtain which is replaced annually during the Hajj pilgrimage. 2/3 of the way up is a band of gold embroidered Quranic text, including the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith, marble stripe marking the beginning and end of each circumambulation. The Station of Gabriel. Religious significance. The Kaaba is the holiest site in Islam, and is often called by names such as the House of God or the House of Allah. Qibla. The Qibla is the direction faced during prayer. It is the focal point for prayer. The direction faced during prayer is the direction of where the Kaaba is. Pilgrimage. The Masjid al-Haram is the focal point of the Hajj and Umrah pilgrimages that occur in the month of al-Hejaz in the Islamic calendar, and at any time of the year, respectively. The Hajj pilgrimage is one of the pillars of Islam, required of all able-bodied Muslims who can afford the trip. In recent times, about 6 million Muslims performed the Hajj every year. Some of the rituals performed by pilgrims are symbolic of historical incidents. For example, the incident of Hagar's search for water is emulated by Muslims as they run between the 2 hills of Safa and Marwa whenever they visit Mecca. The Hajj is associated with the life of the Islamic prophet Muhammad from the 7th century, but the ritual of pilgrimage to Mecca is considered by Muslims to stretch back thousands of years to the time of Sayyidina Ibrahim. History. Traditional views on origin. The Quran contains several verses regarding the origin of the Kaaba. It states that the Kaaba was the first house of worship, and that it was built or rebuilt by Ibrahim and Ishmael on God's instructions. Verily, the first house appointed for mankind was the Tabernacle, full of blessing and a guidance for mankind. Behold, we gave the site to Ibrahim of the house. Associate not anything with me, and sanctify my house for those who compass it round, or stand up, or bow, or prostrate themselves. And remember, Ibrahim and Ishmael raised the foundations of the house, our Lord. except from us, for thou art the all-hearing, the all-knowing. Ibn Kathir, the famous commentator on the Quran, mentions two interpretations among the Muslims on the origin of the Kaaba. One is that the shrine was a place of worship for angels before the creation of man. Later, a temple was built on the location by Adam and Eve, which was lost during the flood in Noah's time and was finally rebuilt by Abraham and Ishmael as mentioned later in the Quran. Ibn Kathir regarded this tradition as weak and preferred instead the narration by Ali ibn Abi Talib that although several other temples might have preceded the Kaaba, it was the first house of God, dedicated solely to him, built by his instruction and sanctified and blessed by him, as stated in Quran 22:26-29. A hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari states that the Kaaba was the first mosque on earth, and the second mosque was the temple in Jerusalem. While Abraham was building the Kaaba, an angel brought to him the black stone which he placed in the eastern corner of the structure. Another stone was the Maqam Ibrahim, where Abraham stood for elevation while building the structure. The black stone and the Maqam Ibrahim are believed by Muslims to be the only remnant of the original structure made by Abraham, as naturally the remaining structure had to be demolished and rebuilt several times over history for maintenance purposes. After the construction was complete, God enjoined the descendants of Ishmael to perform an annual pilgrimage, the Hajj and the Korban, sacrifice of cattle. The vicinity of the shrine was also made a sanctuary where bloodshed and war were forbidden. According to Islamic tradition, over the millennia after Ishmael's death, his progeny and the local tribes who settled around the oasis of Zamzam gradually turned to polytheism and idolatry. Several idols were placed within the Kaaba representing deities of different aspects of nature and different tribes. Several heretical rituals were adopted in the pilgrimage, including doing naked circumambulation. In her book, Islam, A Short History, Karen Armstrong asserts that the Kaaba was at some point dedicated to Hubal, a Nabatean deity, and contained 360 idols that probably represented the days of the year. In Guillaume's translation of Ibn Ishaq, an early biographer of Muhammad, the Kaaba itself was addressed using a feminine grammatical form. Circumambulation was often performed naked by men and almost naked by women, and linked to ancient fertility rites. By Muhammad's day, the Kaaba was venerated as the shrine of Allah, the High God. Once a year, tribes from all around the Arabian Peninsula, whether Christian or pagan, would converge on Mecca to perform the Hajj, marking the widespread conviction that Allah was the same deity worshipped by monotheists. Modern independent views on origin. Ptolemy, writing in the Encyclopedia of Islam, Zinc identifies Mecca with a place called Makoraba mentioned by Ptolemy and found in a 3rd century BC map which suggests that Makoraba was Mecca. G. E. von Grunebaum states, Mecca is mentioned by Ptolemy. The name he gives it allows us to identify it as a South Arabian foundation created around a sanctuary in Mecca and trade and the rise of Islam. Patricia Crone argues that the identification of Makoraba with Mecca is false and that Makoraba was a town in southern Arabia in what was then known as Arabia Felix. Her point of view was supported by some Islamic scholars and challenged by others. Diodorus Siculus. The Greek historian Diodorus Siculus is believed to have mentioned the Kaaba in 6030 BC while describing the coast of Jeddah and its surrounding areas mentioned. The inhabitants of the land about the Gulf, who are known as Banu Zominus, find the food by hunting the land animals and eating the meat, and a temple has been set up there, which is very holy and exceedingly revered by all Arabians. Edward Gibbon suggested that the Kaaba was mentioned by ancient Greek writer Diodorus Siculus before the Christian era. The genuine antiquity of Kaaba ascends beyond the Christian era. etc. In describing the coast of the Red Sea, the Greek historian Diodorus has remarked, between the Thammudites and the Sabines, a famous temple, whose superior sanctity was revered by all the Arabians, the linen or silken veil, which is annually renewed by the Turkish emperor, was first offered by the Homerites, who reigned 700 years before the time of Muhammad. Others Imoti contends that there were numerous such Kaaba sanctuaries in Arabia at one time, but this was the only one built of stone. The others also allegedly had counterparts of the black stone. There was a red stone, the deity of the South Arabian city of Gaiman, and the white stone in the Kaaba of Al-Abala. Granibam in classical Islam points out that the experience of divinity of that period was often associated with stone fetishes, mountains, special rock formations, or trees of strange growth. The Kaaba was thought to be at the center of the world, with the gate of heaven directly above it. The Kaaba marked the location where the sacred world intersected with the profane. The embedded black stone was a further symbol of this, as a meteorite that had fallen from the sky and linked heaven and earth. According to Sawa, about 400 years before the birth of Muhammad, a man named Amr bin Lafio bin Harath bin Amr al-Qais bin Thalaba bin Azd bin Kalan bin Babalion bin Saba, who was descended from Qartin and was the king of Hejaz, had placed a Hubal idol onto the roof of the Kaaba. This idol was one of the chief deities of the ruling tribe Quraysh. The idol was made of red agate and shaped like a human, but with the right hand broken off and replaced with a golden hand. When the idol was moved inside the Kaaba, it had 7 arrows in front of it, which were used for divination, to maintain peace among the perpetually warring tribes. Mecca was declared a sanctuary where no violence was allowed within 20 miles of the Kaaba. This combat-free zone allowed Mecca to thrive not only as a place of pilgrimage, but also as a trading center. Many Muslim and academic historians stressed the power and importance of the pre-Islamic Mecca. They depict it as a city grown rich on the proceeds of the spice trade. Crone believes that this is an exaggeration and that Mecca may only have been an outpost trading with nomads for leather, cloth, and camel butter. Crone argues that if Mecca had been a well-known center of trade, it would have been mentioned by later authors such as Procopius Monosis, or the Syrian church chroniclers writing in Syriac. The town is absent, however, from any geographies or histories written in the 3 centuries before the rise of Islam. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica, before the rise of Islam it was revered as a sacred sanctuary and was a site of pilgrimage. Quote, according to German historian Eduard Glaser, the name Kaaba may have been related to the southern Arabian or Ethiopian word mikrab, signifying a temple. Again, Crone disputes this etymology. In Samaritan literature, the Samaritan Book of the Secrets of Moses claims that Ishmael and his eldest son Nebaioth built the Kaaba as well as the city of Mecca. The Secrets of Moses, or Asatir, book was suggested by some opinion to have been compiled in the 10th century, while another opinion in 1927 suggested that it was written no later than the second half of the 3rd century BC. Muhammad's era. During Muhammad's time, the Kaaba was considered a holy and sacred site by the local Arabs, and later Islam recognized it. Muhammad took part in the reconstruction of the Kaaba after its structure was damaged due to floods around 600 CE. Ibn Ishaq's Sirat Rasul Allah, one of the biographies of Muhammad, describes Muhammad settling a quarrel between Meccan clans as to which clan should set the black stone cornerstone in place. According to Ishaq's biography, Muhammad's solution was to have all the clan elders raise the cornerstone on a cloak, after which Muhammad set the stone into its final place with his own hands. Ibn Ishaq says that the timber for the reconstruction of the Kaaba came from a Greek ship that had been wrecked on the Red Sea coast at Shuayban. mentioned that the work was undertaken by a Coptic carpenter called Bakam. Muhammad's night journey is said to have taken him from the Kaaba to the Temple Mount and heavenwards from there. Muslims initially considered Jerusalem as a Qibla and faced that direction while offering prayers. However, pilgrimage to the Kaaba was considered a religious duty, though its rites were not yet finalized. During the first half of Muhammad's time as a prophet while he was at Mecca, he and his followers were severely persecuted, which eventually led to the migration to Yathrib in 622 CE. In 624 CE, the direction of the Qibla was changed from Jerusalem to the Kaaba in Mecca. In 628 CE, Muhammad led a group of Muslims towards Mecca with the intention of performing the minor pilgrimage at the Kaaba. Though he wasn't allowed by the people of Mecca to do so, he secured a peace treaty with them called the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, which allowed the Muslims to freely perform pilgrimage at the Kaaba from the following year. At the culmination of his mission, in 629 CE, Muhammad conquered Mecca with a Muslim army. His first action was to remove statues and images from the Kaaba. However, Muhammad spared an icon of the Virgin and Child, as well as frescoes of Abraham, raising his hand to protect them. Narrated Abdullah. When the Prophet entered Mecca on the day of the conquest, there were 360 idols around the Kaaba. The Prophet started striking them with the stick he had in his hand and was saying, "Truth has come and falsehood has vanished." After the conquest, Muhammad restated the sanctity and holiness of Mecca and the Masjid al-Haram in Islam. He performed a lesser pilgrimage in 629 CE, followed by the greater pilgrimage in 632 CE called the Farewell Pilgrimage, since Muhammad prophesied his impending death on this event. After Muhammad, the Kaaba has been repaired and reconstructed many times since Muhammad's day. The structure was severely damaged by fire on 3 Rabi'i during the first siege of Mecca in the war between the Umayyads and Abdallah ibn al-Zubayr, an early Muslim who ruled Mecca for many years between the death of Ali and the consolidation of Umayyad power. Ibn al-Zubayr rebuilt it to include the Hatam. He did so on the basis of a tradition that the Hatam was a remnant of the foundations of the Abrahamic Kaaba, and that Muhammad himself had wished to rebuild so as to include it. The Kaaba was bombarded with stones in the second siege of Mecca in 692, in which the Umayyad army was led by al-Hejaz ibn Yusuf. The fall of the city and the death of Ibn al-Zubayr allowed the Umayyads under Abdul Malik ibn Marwan to finally reunite all the Islamic possessions and end the long civil war. In 693 CE, Abdul Malik had the remnants of al-Zubayr's Kaaba razed and rebuilt on the foundations set by the Quraysh. The Kaaba returned to the cube shape it had taken during Muhammad's time. During the Hajj of 930 CE, the Qarmatians attacked Mecca, defiled the Zamzam well with the bodies of pilgrims and stole the black stone, taking it to the oasis region of eastern Arabia known as al-Hejaz, where it remained until the Abbasids ransomed it in 952 CE. The basic shape and structure of the Kaaba have not changed since then. After heavy rains and flooding in 1629, the walls of the Kaaba collapsed and the masjid was damaged. The same year, during the reign of Ottoman Emperor Murad IV, the Kaaba was rebuilt with granite stones from Mecca and the masjid was renovated. The Kaaba's appearance has not changed since then. The Kaaba is depicted on the reverse of 500 Saudi riyal and the 2,000 Iranian rial banknotes. Cleaning. The building is open twice a year for a ceremony known as the cleaning of the Kaaba. This ceremony takes place roughly 30 days before the start of the month of Ramadan and 30 days before the start of Hajj. The keys to the Kaaba are held by the Bani Shaiba tribe. Members of the tribe greet visitors to the inside of the Kaaba on the occasion of the cleaning ceremony. A small number of dignitaries and foreign diplomats are invited to participate in the ceremony. The governor of Mecca leads the honored guests who ritually clean the structure using a simple broom. Washing of the Kaaba is done twice a year with a mixture made from the Zamzam water, Taif rose water and expensive oud oil that is traditionally used in Arabian perfumes.